Do you have a case of the cooking munchies? Well, head on down to Stoner's Pot Palace for all your cooking needs. We have the best deals on some of the top cooking supplies like the QAnon Egg Scrambler, great for making new conspiracy theories and scrambling your brain. I can taste that freedom-raised chicken eggs. Johnson & Johnson one-shot branded pots and pans, guaranteed to help cook just about anything, with non-stick up to 85% effective. Mar-a-Lago branded prawn peeler for when all your help has left and you have to do it yourself. So easy to use, even an ex-president can do it. Well, with some help, not included. John Fetterman branded hydroponic grow lights for when you want to grow some recreational herbs indoors to use for cooking. Doctor approval needed to purchase in some states. Moscow Mitch collapsible tea kettle for those of us who love a real cup of tea but do not have the Senate power to make it. And de-stem strawberries with the green stem gem strawberry hauler, great for de-stemming batches upon batches of controversial strawberries in Washington. Stoner's Pot Palace, a place to shop when you have the cooking munchies. Some restrictions apply. This store is legal in some states like Alaska, California, Colorado, Illinois, Maine, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Montana, Nevada, Oregon, Vermont, and Washington State. While others, you need doctor's approval before you can shop here. Illegal in states Idaho, Nebraska, and South Dakota. Cook responsibly. Live from D&D Studios, it's This Week Live with Rocky Red Panda. This week's The Good, The Bad, and the Artist of the Week, Tolulope Majek. Racism and Discrimination Roundtable with Sasha, the Princess of Darkness, and Josue Salinas. And Pennsylvania Fun Facts, here's your host, Rocky Red Panda. Welcome to This Week Live. Yeah, I have my caffeine in me. Dunking all the way, baby. I'm pumped. And ready to go. Excuse me for a moment. That's right. I love my coffee, folks. So, welcome to the show. I am your host, Rocky Red Panda. It is the week of January 31st, 2021. This week, we'll be taking a different tone, a more serious tone. We will be discussing the topic of racism and discrimination in our schools and within our communities. Yes, that's a hard topic to talk about, but that's for later on. So I have a little time to prepare. We will be discussing this week's news stories segment, but that will also be a little different. I want to bring everything down to the local level this time. There's so much to discuss locally that I think this would be a great time to talk about it. I know we as Americans suffered over the last 4 years, and we are now finally able to heal. But folks, give it some time. Biden just took office. It won't happen overnight. As things stew down in D.C., let's move into this week's Pennsylvania edition of The Good, The Bad, and the That's where we poke fun at some of this week's news. And yes, this time is personal. Yes, Keystone State, it's your time to shine. So let's get right into it, shall we? So usually I toss a cue card, but since this is the Pennsylvania edition, we're going to toss some things. We're going to toss first a set of keys with my Pittsburgh Penguins lanyard on it. Keys. Keystone State. Yes, all puns intended. I hope I don't lose these. Well, actually I shouldn't because I got a towel attached to it. So here we go. Ooh. And while we're at it, toss some Hershey Pride. Go Bears. Woo, Bears, 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 Bears. And then we're going to head down to Pittsburgh. And we're going to toss a little Pirates. Yes. Hoist the Jolly Roger. You're out. Some Lancaster Pride. Shady Maple Smorgasbord. That's right. Shady Maple Smorgasbord. I would toss something Philadelphia, but of course, I don't have my Fly Eagles fly. Ooh, I'll just do this. Fly Eagles fly. Yeah, well, I better stop before this gets any worse. And I'm saying that as I'm eating a bag of potato chips. No, I'm not addicted. I swear. I can stop whenever I want. So, excuse me here. So let's start with Riley Williams. And yes, no relation to Brian Williams of NBC. Riley Williams, Harrisburg woman accused of stealing Nancy Pelosi's laptop, must stay off the internet. So remember the attacks on the Capitol in Washington, D.C.? Well, Riley Williams stole Nancy Pelosi's laptop and admitted to doing so. She had her court date only to be let out on bail. Freedom. Then the feds were afraid that she was destroying evidence of her guilt by deleting all of her social media accounts. Then here comes the bombshell. That all of this was fake from a vengeful ex. I don't believe that one bit. The original case against her was she stole the laptop with plans to sell to Russia, which never happened and failed. I think maybe someone's putting me on here, but that doesn't make up for the loads of evidence against her. I think the only posts she will be liking in the near future are posts. Now, speaking of posts, let's talk about the Pennsylvania National Guard. Now, some National Guard will be in Washington, D.C. until March. They will help with crowd control, crowd management, assisting with traffic, communications, logistics, and medical services. Now, let's go back, way back to January the 6th. Pennsylvania sent out about 2,350 Guard members to help with Joe Biden's inauguration. Out of that number, about 450 members are expected to remain. These guardsmen will be housed in hotel rooms. Oh, thank God. Maybe they will get freshly baked cookies again from the First Lady. Yes, they're handmade by me. Actually, no. The White House cooking staff makes them for me to give to you. But speaking of people of power, let's talk about my favorite governor, Governor Wolf, who I voted for twice. Yes, his first election, and his second election, or his first term or second term. Now, Pennsylvania State approves proposed constitutional amendment to limit governor's emergency powers. Now, remember a few episodes ago where I went, Hawk Smash? Well, this might be another case. Let's start with the history of Wolf. He was elected the first time around. When he was elected first time around, of course, I voted for him, and I was so proud he won. He ran for a second term in office. I voted for him again, and yet he won again. Then this ugly thing called a pandemic and COVID-19 happened in 2020, the year we try to forget. Let's forget that. He locked us down, but not once, but a few times. Restaurants closed for good, business closed for good. I could go on, but it's not my place to say. I will say this on the record, that I supported everything he has done so far for the state of Pennsylvania. And yes, I still do support him. It hurts me to see people that call him a dictator, a tyrant, Mickey Mouse, and even compare him to Hitler and the Third Reich. He's none of those. Just put your big boy pants and girl pants on and grow up, please. As Joe Biden best said it, unity. this isn't unity. We'll get back to unity here in a moment. So the other day, the Senate approves a proposal that would limit the length of future emergency disaster declarations, making it harder for him or any government to pass emergency bills because now they have to get approved by Senate. It goes to House, of course, for consideration. If it passes there, the issue would be put on the ballot for voters to decide. Now, this makes my head hurt for people in Pennsylvania. I'm sorry I had to speak like this, but when it comes to my state, I am an outright advocate for change. But this isn't change. This will only hurt us more. But let's get back to unity here. I want to talk about Pennsylvania's representative, Brian Sims of Philadelphia. Want to know how our state is? Take a look at some of this.
I've wondered for years what it would be like to finally have this opportunity, to finally have this chance to ask all of you, my colleagues, to make this long overdue update, to make this small change that will have such a huge impact on people that I love. And yet, Mr. Speaker, in this room at this moment, when I look out at 200 people, 200 friends that the Constitution says that are on equal elected footing with me, it says that you are my peers. And yet I know that not to be true. Not under the law and not in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Despite the title we share, despite the hallways that we walk together, the committees that we serve on, despite all of the collaboration in this room, you are not my peers. You are my superiors. You are my superiors at home. You are my superiors at work. You are my superiors in boardrooms. You are my superiors in hospitals. You're even my superiors on our deathbed. We are not peers. You are my superiors. And so as my superiors, I'm not asking that you do this. I'm begging you. I'm begging you. But I also think about how special any of us can be in any given moment, how heroic we can be in a singular moment, a moment that history makes, a moment like this right now. And I'm reminded again that we are not peers, and that the real heroes here, the real heroes in this moment might be all of you, my colleagues. I promise you with every fiber of my being that this vote won't just impact the hundreds of thousands of friends and neighbors and constituents and loved ones who are LGBTQ, but it will also impact each and every strong, proud, confident, secure, straight ally and supporter of justice and equality, both in this room, across the Commonwealth, and across the nation. Despite all of the amazing history to get here, all of the heroes that paved the way, all the voices that were needed to propel this civil rights issue forward right now, in this moment, you are all the most important chapter in this history. In this room are Harvey Milk, in this room are Edie Windsor and James Baldwin, but also in this room are the gentlemen and gentle ladies of Washington County, of Butler County, of Elk County, and of Potter County. And this is your story, and we're your family also, which is why I beg you. Ben Franklin, the first speaker of this great body, said, "Be civil to all, sociable to many, familiar with few, friend to one, and enemy to none." We're in this complicated and amazing experiment together, and you are the most powerful people in the Commonwealth, in the most important moment in the history of the Commonwealth and all of its LGBTQ people. And in this moment, I beg you to do the right thing. Please support this amendment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
So he spoke to get a non-discrimination bill passed on House floor. He just didn't speak for himself, but he spoke for all people of LGBTQA+ in the great state of Pennsylvania, including myself. He wanted people to be on the right side of history and for change. It didn't happen. When it came to a vote, surprise, surprise, all Democrats for the first time in Pennsylvania history voted yes. All Republicans voted no. I'll let that sink in. I'll let that sink in, what I just said. Your elected officials who you voted for decided to vote for discrimination and racism by not voting yes, which means they are okay with it. So what happened in Washington, D.C. a few weeks ago was nothing but a fluke? Right. No. So to reiterate, by not voting yes, you're okay with the LGBTQA plus person getting fired from work because of their race or sexual orientation. You're okay with them being denied housing. You're okay with doctors refusing to treat them because of who they are. Shame on you. That's right. Shame on you. You're the same people who states the election was rigged, voted Trump, and when appalled about the Capitol mass riots, but yet some of you partook in it, like Senator Doug Mastriano or Senator Pat Toomey, who was under investigation into whether he had his hands in Georgia trying to get the votes overturned. Folks, this is all dirty politics. Democrats are sheeps. Sheep, rats, libtards, communists, and Republicans are just doing the right thing. I think we need to reevaluate this. Anyone in the house a doctor? Anyone out there a doctor? A doctor in the house? Yes. Can we check to see if the Democrats are sheeps and communists? They don't advocate for a classless system in which the means of production are owned communally. Gotcha. Thank you, doctor. Oh, hey, Gandhi. I love to have Brian Sims on my show for an interview. He does amazing work for the state of Pennsylvania. So thank you to Representative Brian Sims. Also want to congratulate Dr. Rachel Levine for being Joe Biden's pick as Assistant Health Secretary, making her the first openly transgender federal official, if confirmed, to office. All in all, after everything that is in the news locally in Pennsylvania, we have to just sit back and say, it's my state, and if we want change, we have to advocate for it. I'll end this news segment by mentioning Upper Adams School District. I won't say much other than racism and discrimination is being tested, and it's now in the news. Later on in the show, we will have guest Sasha, the Princess of Darkness, and host Sway speak about racism and discrimination in Pennsylvania, especially within local schools, and hear firsthand what it's like. But for now, let's take a short break, and we'll return after this commercial. Hey there folks, this is Rocky Red Panda, your host of This Week Live, P&D Studios, and illustrator at Panda Numeric Designs. Are you looking to get official This Week Live, P&D Studio, and Panda Numeric Design merchandise? That's right. Go to my website at pandaanddesigns.com, click on the shop, which will take you to some sweet, sweet stuff via my online Etsy store. And welcome back, guys. We're going to head into one of my segments that I always enjoy because I like helping other people. The Artist of the Week. Alright, you folks. So this week we're going to be talking about artist Tolulope Tolulope Majek. Tolulope Majek. I know, second week, I'm butchering names. But the reason why I picked this artist of the week is because this artist is a ballpoint pen artist. Now, they are unique and different in each individual way. Take a look. It's the ballpoint. This is all ballpoint. I mean, that's absolutely amazing. So, we're going to go ahead. We're going to scroll through some of this work here. That is just absolutely amazing. I like that. Wow. Oh my God. And the process. My goodness. Wow. All right. That's just great. So I'm going to leave this one up. Put this one in full screen. Because I like this one. So ignore all of the comics off to the side. I wish there was a way I can hide those comments. There might be. So let's just open image, a new tab. Boom. There we go. We'll leave it on this. So, Majek. I'm just going to say Majek because it's hard to pronounce his name. Majek is a ballpoint pen artist. And I did ask him some questions I usually ask most artists. And, of course, I gave him a list. So, first off, tell me about your art. What got you into the art? And how do you come up with your unique ideas? So, he says, I am a self-trained ballpoint artist. I mostly draw in pen. And it's like, what got me into art is the colorful objects I see around me. And this prompted me into art. And it says, they're still learning to improve. Now, they use, what kind of pens do they use? He says, I use big pen mostly, but I prefer the dark pen. How many pens does he usually use to do one of these? Depending on the size I'm working on, I usually use between 1 to 2 pens per drawing. The darker parts will determine how long a pen can last. Wow. So that is just absolutely amazing. So I'm going to include some of his links located below and also in the About section of this video. So definitely check it out. But let's take a look at some of these works of art. I'm going to pull them up because we're going to open in a new tab. We're going to open this one up in a new tab. Because a lot of these works I absolutely love. I'm just going to pick 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's find one more. Oh. Actually, I like this one. Alright, so let's start looking at these meticulously. So let's start with this one. So I absolutely love his work of art. So let's start with my little critique, because I do this in every video. So, a little handy dandy chopstick. So let's start with this one. First thing I love is the face, the facial expression right here. This is almost lifelike. It's just amazing detail. It's realistic. I mean, the eyes, the nose, the mouth, the shading, the dark hairline. This is just absolutely fantastic. I absolutely love. I love this, especially this one. You can tell where the pen was just hardly done. Now this one. This one I love because of, again, dark lines, the color, the contrast. That's just absolutely amazing. And this one, I love this one because look at all the detail. Look at all the little dots. The detail of the art itself. That's just so much detail. It's just beautiful. And of course, this one, I like this one. Again, you have the outline. It's just so photorealistic. And of course, the last one. I like this one because, look, it's color. This actually is color. I'm going to open this one in a new window. There we go. Look at this. This is a red ballpoint pen used with black. The white. You got the outlines of all of the muscle tone. My goodness. This is just absolutely amazing. I'm just dumbstruck. Dumbfounded. With ballpoint pen, I'm taking, for instance, a pen like this. You know, a pen something like this can make something like this. That is just truly amazing, folks. That is just truly amazing. So for Telexi Art, or I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name. Telexi Art or what is it? Where do we find it? Telexi Art or Tolulope Majek. Definitely check this person's art out. He is absolutely amazing, especially at line art. Now, I would think this art would be good enough to be in a museum of some sort. It would be wonderful enough to hold his own exhibit. Because this is just absolutely amazing. He has more talent at a ballpoint pen than I have, because all I use it for is writing. I mean, all I can do is just jot down my name. But look at this. Beautiful. This is what you call true talent, folks. True talent. So Majek is this week's Artist of the Week. And all the links to his profiles to check out his art will be located down below. So definitely check that out. Alright, so we'll take a short commercial break and we're going to return back where we're going to have a serious talk about racism and discrimination with our special guests, Sasha the Princess of Darkness and Josue. So stick around.
You are watching This Week Live with Rocky Red Panda, only on PND Studios. Make sure to like and subscribe.
All right, you guys, and welcome back. So, this week we're going to be talking about racism and discrimination. I say this for last, only because this is something that has been brought up in the local news recently with the Upper Adams School District. And the talk of racism has been broadcasted on the news. It's been implanted in our minds. We've been hearing it so often lately, and especially it coincides with discrimination. But with that being said, it's brought up locally, as I mentioned earlier, within the Upper Adams School District. And we do have some people here, and we're going to talk a little bit about racism in our schools, in our local communities, and we're just going to go off of that topic. So, with us today, we do have Sasha, the Princess of Darkness, one of my favorite people out there. There we go. There, Sasha. Hey. So, and then we also do have Josue. We call him Pony. He got that from high
or
school.
Sporty or Midget.
We're Let's
We're
yeah.
kind of talking about diversity.
We're talking
I'm
about
short.
diversity, so
I'm short.
I know you are, but let's keep this. So, all right. So let's first talk about what's been happening in the local news because I waited till the end to talk about this. So Upper Adams School District, that would be the Big Laville School District, has been dealing with problems of racism and discrimination for who knows for years. Because I listened to the news yesterday and they talked about
Probably decades.
they talked about someone who was 64 years old who came forward and talked about racism, and that goes back to at least the 60s and 50s, maybe early 70s. So it's been going on for quite some time, and it seems like not only are the students currently that are going there fed up, but it's also the alumni some of the people that graduated, and you have this big following. They started this Facebook group. They started this Instagram group to showcase that we're not going to stand for this anymore, and that we can't just sit back and let this happen day in and day out, because this is something that needs to be addressed, and the students need their time to shine, which is what they're doing. It's gotten the big news that the ACLU of Pennsylvania, who stepped in and is going to take a look at this and is fighting for this, it's gotten on numerous news sources: Fox 43 News, ABC 27, New York Daily Record, Gettysburg Times. We're not going to talk about the Gettysburg Times because that was incorrect information. Same with the Evening Sun. It's just it's getting attention. It's getting all the attention in the right way.
A good source. If you really want to find more information, York Daily Record has a lot of truth. So if you really want to find out what people have been saying, follow the York Daily Record. I spoke to them about what I went through, and it's really good. It's a really good source. What they've written there is pretty accurate. They actually write what the students have been saying, not try to hide anything. So if
Well,
you really want to learn more, go into the York Daily Record. They're probably the best source.
well, that's pretty good. And then just looking over here at the live feeds and joining us. Hi, Tom. Hi, Lisa. All right. So,
So, Mooney, when's your particular story going to be featured there in that particular?
Sometime next week. Sometime next week. They have my story. Like what they did recently. George showed me this. I mean, I would kept up with them, but George sent me the link. They just talk in general about people's experiences. So it might be mine and a couple other people. Next week they'll post something about it, saying just a short stuff like.
Because I know with the York Daily Record, I sent you that link. They actually started a news story as of the 28th. They updated on the 29th. If you have to check today on the 30th that they updated, but they update that I think regularly, so they add more stuff to it, which is good. I like that. So
my concern is to keep up with it, to make sure that they actually are putting your words in there. Because I've known papers, they take a clip and then they leave a lot of the stuff on the cutting room floor. So just make sure you have final say in how your words are presented.
Yeah, but the general thing about York Daily Record, like I have friends who have spoken that I know, people that I know. It's pretty much they just give a general about what they said, but it's pretty much what the students say. Like the Gettysburg Time, we're not going to go into that. They said false information.
All right. So before we get off a topic here, I'm going to say hi Tom DeVore. How you guys doing? And this I'm also, if you're wondering why I'm saying hi, I have people on my Facebook Live that I'm just saying hi to as I'm doing this. But
hi guys, welcome, and happy that you joined us.
So let's get back to some topic. So let's talk first about Big Louisville, Abraham School District. So from what I understand, from what I can read, is that racism at Big Louisville between people of color and Hispanic it's been going on for years. The students have now finally had enough. They're now finally coming forward to talk about their experiences, especially with teachers, especially with people that are supposed to teach the kids and are supposed to be their mentors and help them succeed. So when they graduate, they can go to a college, but that's not what they're getting. So if, correct me if I'm wrong here, Pony, because, you went to Big Louisville. When did you graduate?
In 2010.
2010. Okay. So go ahead. So, I mean, was it as bad as what they're talking about? Because I know from what I'm reading, I cringe. It just makes me upset. It makes me angry when I read some of these stories.
Well, when I went to school, it wasn't as bad as it is now. I think honestly, with President Trump, it's and him blatantly saying these things about minorities, these things about people of color. People tend to be like, oh, if Trump can say this shit and he's our president, then it's okay for me to start saying stuff like that, and I'm gonna get in trouble. And so I think it's now being seen more in our school than when I went to high school. Because I went to high school, Obama was president.
Okay.
So Obama got into office when I was, I think, in 11th grade. I forget who was the president before that. Who was president before that?
It was Bush.
Bush was president. Yeah, Bush
George
was
W.
president.
Bush,
Well, they didn't really. Those two didn't really like like mention racism, like start saying racist things about people. So I think it was a little bit more like people were hiding it a little bit more. But now with Trump, I think people are being like, oh, well, if he's saying it, then I can say it too. Um,
well,
so I think it's
kind of,
happening more now than it was, but it was happening when I was in school.
okay,
Well,
because you,
here's how I got to look at it. I'm a bit older than both of you. I graduated high school in '97. Even then, racism was a problem. The high school I went to, we had the best way I can describe it. You remember Daria, and they had the one black kid and the female one, and those two just automatically dated because they were the only ones in the school.
yeah,
That's essentially what it was like where I went to high school, and it was terrible.
Which high school did you graduate from?
Chambersburg.
Oh, you okay? That's something we'll talk about Chambersburg, because I've heard some horrible things about Chambersburg.
We had maybe like one or two Latino individuals, and they were treated like lepers. It was terrible. You know, there wasn't, most of the faces you saw were white, and it was terrible. Best way I can put it is I was the short, quiet kid that kept to myself and tried not to be a target.
Yeah.
They tried to do the same and weren't as successful with it.
Okay. So let's we'll get back to that, but Pony, go ahead. So what did you experience when you were in school? Because this is all about the experience of the students that graduate that went to Upper Adams, and you kind of you have the story that I guess you want to tell.
Well, I kind of got lucky and was always in with kind of like the cool kids because I played soccer, and so I was always in sports. I was always involved in stuff like that. So, but still, people at that school still treated you differently because you were color. They would talk to you in a different way. I remember one time I was speaking Spanish, and I got yelled at. I said, "Hey, you're not supposed to speak Spanish. Speak English. You can't speak Spanish in school. Like that's not like why can't I speak Spanish? It's my right to speak Spanish." Teachers would always look at you different because you were color than other people. Especially if you got in trouble, which I hardly ever did because I was a decent kid. But people of color who got in trouble, other people they would treat them differently, and the punishments wouldn't be the same. Like, I've dealt with a lot of this crap in our school. It's not. It was a lot about people calling them the brown people, the minorities, not calling them Hispanics, calling them the minority table, the brown table. It was just this whole stuff about people saying, I'm using the word brown a lot for Hispanic people.
That's just terrible. I can't even imagine that. Day in and day out. That's just horrible. Now with you, Sasha, you went to Chambersburg. Now, even though you graduated in 1997, how was it back then? Being compared to, I guess, what's happening now with the media.
Well, it was a culture shock because before that, I was an Army brat. We were in and out of different schools, and the only color on the Army is green. So you went to school with all kinds of different kids. Here I'm in FEPA, and the diversity is just not there, And if you are somebody that's different, be it of any way, shape, or form, people try to go about their way to crush you and not include you.
Because I've heard some horrible things from people that I've talked to that say Chambersburg High School is just as bad, or probably is just as bad. Yeah, it's just. But you have to think about this. Why do they do this? In a way, you have to think. What's the basis behind all this racism, the bullying? Does it stem from how the parents taught their children growing up?
Definitely. Uh,
It's
one thing that did happen to me when I was in school is I I was late for 5 minutes because I couldn't open my locker. You know, sometimes you have trouble opening your locker. And the one teacher looked at me, came in, looked at me and said, "It said, why were you late? Like I couldn't open my locker." And she did it with, and she yelled, and she kind of said it with her stern voice. And I said, and then she said, straight to the principal's office. And then the principal's office, I got after school detention for being late 5 minutes. And I've seen white kids who were late. All they said is, "Don't do it again next time." Like that's just how the punishments aren't put out exactly the same as everybody. Like you do the same thing. White kids got less punishment than the Hispanic kids or the black kids. We barely had any black kids when I was growing up, but now our school sees more black kids, but the punishments weren't always the same.
Uh, yeah, I completely understand now. For me, I went to Fairfield. I also went to Littlestown, so I kind of have a double dose here. So I know I usually don't tell this to people. The reason I went to Littlestown was I was put into an emotional support program. That's all because of what happened at Fairfield. But the excuse I heard all the time at Fairfield, whenever something happened, whether it was discrimination, whether it was racism, was the fact that, oh, just a slap on the wrist, we'll give them 2 days out of school suspension or 2 weeks out of school, and they'll be able to come back. Or since this happened off of school grounds, we can't really deal with it. This is something that the police need to deal with since it didn't happen on school property, which technically most of the time it did. They were just kind of saving face and saying, we're not going to really deal with it. Or the other one was, we'll just send you guys down to the guidance counselor. They'll send you to the guidance counselor. What's the guidance counselor do? They sit there and they talk, and it's. I think of it as the guidance counselor from Daria. That's a good way of talking about it. Or was it from no the guidance counselor from for talking more modern, Amazing Gumball. It's saying there, it's like rainbows and unicorns. It's more like, so what did he do? Tell your side of the story. Now you tell your side of the story, and then once it's done, it's like, okay, so I want you to apologize to him for what you did. And it's like, I'm sorry. Okay, you're not gonna do it again? Yes. All right, then I think we're set here. You two
five
go
minutes
back to
later.
lunch. That's how it was. And of course, as soon as you get back to lunch, what's going to happen? They're going to do it again, and it's going to be twice as bad as what happened before.
And I can imagine, like, in present day, it's even worse.
Yeah.
Because, like, when I graduated high school, the internet was still in its infancy, you know? There wasn't many websites where students would go to slam on each other or things of that nature.
Dial up, the days of dial up.
Took an hour to download an audio picture.
Yeah.
An hour. It took more like a day.
I had cable.
Well, I'm actually reading here. Tom actually wrote something. I'm going to read what Tom wrote. Tom wrote, he says, I remember when I was in school, the white kids handed out hunting licenses for black kids. It was a mess for a long time. I went to Votech, where city and county kids came together. I just went to class, learned, and got put. It was a paper calling black kids all kinds of names. It made fun. It made the news. It was back in 1998.
Now, if you know where Votech is, people, Votech is in York
We have
County,
it down here in Chambersburg, too.
or Chambersburg, that too.
We call it the farm school.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing your story, Tom, because
Yeah, if you people are listening to us and watching us Facebook Live, and you have any experiences, feel free to comment and say stuff. We'll be glad to share. So
because
don't
I'm
hesitate
going
to say anything.
because this is also going to be on YouTube, so that for people on Facebook Live. But so to kind of go off what Tom was saying, this happened in 1998. I mean, this has been going on for years. There's a saying that has been going around: just because you didn't see something or experienced it, doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Exactly.
Right.
I mean, hearing your side of the story of what you saw, and then kind of hearing from Sasha's side, and then kind of adding my kind of experiences, it's more of like what can be done. These are people that are not only representing our community, but these are people that are here to teach the students.
They got hired to make sure that they get an education and that they go off to a proper college or wherever they plan to go after high school. But if this is happening within the school system itself, that means they're not getting their proper education. Their mind is elsewhere just because, on a constant daily basis, this is happening to them. And I can tell from personal experience that this weighs heavily on your mental status, especially uh, depression, sometimes suicidal tendencies.
Hmm.
It weighs heavily upon that. And your option is, why does everyone hate me? And then you go home and then you're like, I don't want to be here anymore. This happens all too much because you work in a you worked in the mental health community for a while there, Sasha. So
Maybe
it's kind
going
of,
back.
yeah. So it's all this what you call the circle of life.
Well, when I worked at the Mental Health Association,
Mm,
you have to understand there was me, there was a black trans person who also had problems constantly at work, probably because more so than me because they were the black trans person.
yeah,
We literally had to take a state mandated course called cultural diversity, where you sat down for like a week and you had to take it. And if something came up afterwards, you were fired. No ands, ifs, or buts. And
yeah,
if you refused to take it, you were fired. And what shocks me is that this is a state ran organization. The school is state ran. The Mental Health Association also was state, funded, county funded. And to me, it's like, why can't we do this to the students and the teachers? Either teacher or little Kenny takes this course, or they don't graduate, or they get fired. Give
yeah.
them real world consequences. And if something happens during all of this, hey, we had this talk. You're done, son. Bye. Hope you can get your GED on your own.
Correct. But you have to understand with the Biglerville, this has been going on because the woman who said she was 64 and she actually came forward anonymously. I'm just thinking, wait a minute, this has been going on longer than I thought. I thought maybe to like the early 90s, but no,
Well,
this has been
here,
going on way before that.
Well, George, if you know Biggerville was predominantly of conservative and predominantly country people. A lot of them people are rednecks. I'm just gonna say it. They are. They like to hunt. They like to fish. So they're like set in their ways. They don't like change.
I can,
yep. And the other thing too is think about that person who's 64. They went through seeing several civil rights movements happen in their lifetime.
Yep.
They saw the Black Power movement. They saw women's rights happen. They
correct.
saw probably a few brawl burnings. They saw on top of that the LGBTQ riots,
Mm-hmm.
which became Pride. Here you have been through all of this and have seen this and have seen civil and upheaval change, and yet the community around you is not adapting. And at some point, there has to be consequences for that. Either little Timmy is not going to graduate high school or teacher X is getting fired.
Yeah, yeah. I completely understand with that. So, in your opinion, what do you think? Because they already have their what you call, I'm going to say, proclamation of demands of what they want to see happen. They actually wrote that out. But what do you think? Coming forward, not with just Big Lavelle, let's say all the schools in particular, especially within a local community. What do you think that needs to happen, especially when it comes down to you as a student?
Well, I think if a kid, just because they're minorities and they're not adults yet, I think kids who say stuff like that should be held accountable, should be responsible. A 16-year-old kid knows perfectly well what racism is, perfectly well what they're doing. They should be accountable as adults. Don't be like, oh, he's a kid. We're just going to let it slide. They need to be treated as adults. A 16-year-old kid knows what racism is. If he says something and does something, he should be punished like an adult because that stuff is not right.
Handle it like we did the war on drugs. Zero tolerance.
Yeah, I completely understand.
Because if a kid brings drugs across the border or something, or is caught selling drugs like a 6-year-old kid, he's gonna get the same he's gonna get the same stuff as an adult. Why can't kids who are of age that you know what they're saying and doing get held to the same standards that they're saying racial and doing racial things? Like
if it's truly coming from the parents, expelling that kid is really going to sting that parent too, because they don't have that free babysitter anymore.
No,
But there's also been talk, because I remember this, when you talk about bullying, especially in schools. I remember this from a while back. So a lot of school systems are now, and the parent, I guess the people that have been bullied and their parents are saying that, well, why don't we? Because if if a child bullies another child, um, wouldn't it be the parent's responsibility? And wouldn't the parent be the ones that
Exactly.
has to get into trouble? You see,
It's the
not only the
cycle of
child,
abuse.
you're disciplining the child, but keep in mind, this child's like 15 or 16, but it all comes down to how they were raised, and it goes back to the parents. So the parents are supposed to be held
That's
accountable
true too.
for
That's
this.
true too. But what if your parents taught you the values, good values and stuff, taught you to be kind to everybody, but then the kids said, I still don't like I still don't like black people. I still don't like Hispanics. And
You're
they bully the
expelled.
kid.
Sorry, no
You gotta
jobs.
teach the kid. You gotta hold the kid accountable too, because like the parents have to teach you and stuff. But kids make their own decisions. When you're 16, you know what's right and wrong. You should be held accountable for what you did. No, even if it's a 16-year-old kid.
And think about it. If you go into a workplace with that type of attitude, be it from something you got from your parents or whatever, you're losing your job. You're getting fired.
Yep.
All right, so
Same consequences.
so
We're
stepping-
preparing kids for the real world.
So stepping away from the school, we're gonna move a little bit into the community, because I know it just doesn't happen within the
Ah,
school,
this is
but
great.
it kind of moves into what we call the community itself. Because, um, growing up for me, being Asian, growing up, you know, I've only experienced it just a couple of times. I remember I was at, I think it was one of the convenience stores, and a guy just walks up to me and he tells me, "You should." It's like, "Why don't you go back where you came from?" And I was like, and he basically thought I was Hispanic. I was like, "Actually, sir, I'm Asian." I was like, "Oh, you're a chink. Well, then why don't you go back to China where you came from? Your kind is not welcome here." And and I just said, okay, that was actually the first time I actually experienced it out there and open in the public. But what's happening now, especially with my Asian community, is with the COVID-19, they're now picking on the Asian community because they say, "Oh, you're Asian, you got the kung flu, and you're gonna infect us all. It came from over there."
Well,
They're beating up the Asians and they're picking on them. And every time say, like, you accidentally cough because you have like
yep.
a sore throat, you cough, they say, "Oh, you just coughed on me. Bam, you're Asian. Most likely you're going to be beaten, or something's going to happen," because I've seen it on the news. And my mother always tells me to be careful. Just be careful out there. And I was like, I'll be fine. But it makes a point when you see it on the news and it's happening. You realize, wow, just all because of this virus.
And to a degree, you would think this would open up opportunities to educate. Because one thing, and I hate to say it, with where I live currently, from people that I am associated with,
Yeah.
they drop some pretty nasty slurs and things of that nature. And me, I have no problem correcting them on the regular. They absolutely hate it. And to me, it's like, why do you hate it? Because I'm correcting you, or because you want to keep saying those words?
Yeah, yeah.
And I use this as an opportunity to educate. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Like when they were bringing up, about the whole thing with COVID and it coming from overseas, I'm like, yeah, well, we thought the Spanish flu came from Spain and it came from upper Minnesota area.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I completely understand with that. So you said Chambersburg, because I remember a while back you had an issue with someone that when you used to work. I'm not going to say the place of working, but you used to work somewhere, and you had an issue with kind of like with racism. You had an issue with the guy coming in and basically saying some things out in public, and you defended yourself, but yet you kind of got reprimanded for that.
More than once. I'm a person who, I don't care. We're all people. And if somebody's saying something negative or nasty toward anyone based on a difference, I'm going to go off, be it about me or not. That's just how I'm built. And this person, of course, was dropping slurs while I'm a manager at a business. And my philosophy of it is you're in here while I'm running this store. You're not conducive with your attitude. You need to leave to me so I can continue business.
Yeah, I can completely understand with that. Now with you, Josue or Pony, I gotta pick a name that I'm just gonna call you. I'll just call you Pony. So I mean, how's it been on your side, especially with the community? Because I know with you being Hispanic, you probably get a lot of it. Because I remember you told me a story about being in Walmart and speaking on the phone and speaking in Spanish.
Oh yeah, I mean, I when I was growing up, there were hardly any Hispanics. There were only people working in the farms, people coming and going, But now I see a lot more people who are Hispanic living in our community. Biglerville, Arnsville, Bennersville, Gardeners, Aspers, and all that is predominantly being Hispanic now. Predominantly, Hispanic people are living there, and the white people don't like it. I went to Walmart. I went to Walmart in Gettysburg, and I was speaking on the phone, I think to my mom, and then this one lady looks at me and said, "Hey, we don't speak Spanish here. We speak American. Go back to your country if you want to speak Spanish." So I just looked at her and I just kept talking louder on the phone, talk louder on her phone. She got so mad and just walked away. And I said, "Hi, have a nice day, lady." So it's like I get yelled. I like it's not even that people say stuff. It's like when I speak Spanish, people look at you. They look at me. They're saying, "Why are you speaking Spanish?" Like they give you a stare.
American's not even a language. We're a bastardization of the British colonies language. On top of that, if you want to be honest, the true American languages would be like what? Cherokee, Littlefoot, things of that nature.
Yeah, it goes the true American language would actually be Native Americans because if we're gonna go that route, Native Americans actually lived here way before the British came and took over America. They kind of ramparted their homelands, and then, as history says, they crawled them into little communities, which are now into communities now. But that's before they went on a killing spree and killing a good percentage of them. And a lot of these Native American tribes are no longer in existence because they either disappeared, eradicated, or we killed them off.
And what
No one's
annoys me,
illegal on stolen land.
Yeah, exactly.
a lot more is that every Hispanic person they automatically assume they're Mexican. Like, oh, all you Mexican people, what does that mean? Like they just say all you Mexican people need to go back to where you came from. Like, what does that mean? We're not all
Exactly.
Mexican. There is Puerto Ricans, Salvadorians, Peruvians. There's people
Latino.
from Spain. There's people from Bolivia. They all assume they're Hispanic. All Hispanic people they assume they're Mexicans.
That's not good. But while we're on that topic, there's a new term going around lately, as of I think it's last year. No, it's the year before last year, 2019. They're now using it's called Latinx because they want to be genderly. What's it? They want they basically want it to be properly said. So
That's
instead,
more toward communities like my own. I'm not Latinx, but I'm just saying communities like my own
correct.
that come from a Latin background.
Correct.
I
Yeah.
don't agree with that. I strongly say we're all Latinos, or if you're women, Latinas. I mean, that's the right term. Like this Latinx is people who want to be like gender neutral. I mean, like Latino is what we are. Be proud of being Latino or Latina. None of this Latinx country. Like you shouldn't be afraid of saying yes, I am Latino, or yes, I am Latina. Like I
What's
don't.
wrong with just being Latin?
Latin's a language technically. So
Now I've learned something.
Yeah.
Because
That's
they always talk about Latin lovers, so I'm just like,
well, that's our little humor in with our
no, but I'm just saying, like I know these people want to be like gender neutral, but I mean, like this is the problem with society is people are so afraid of saying yes, I'm Latino or Latina that they made up this Latinx to just be like, well, I'm not either. That I'm just Latinx. Like be proud of where you came from. Don't be ashamed of it.
well, for me, everyone assumes it's like, oh, you're from Korea, you're Chinese, and it's like, no, I'm Taiwanese. Oh, Thailand. No. That's a separate company. My dad's from Taiwan. Used to be called Formosa, and I had to go through all this history and I have to explain to him where Formosa or Taiwan is. And it's like, oh, okay, so you speak Mandarin. Yeah, we do. I don't. I need to learn because my relatives over in Taiwan keep butchering me to say you will need to learn how to speak Chinese. And they say that a lot, and I completely understand. I wish I knew how to speak it when my grandfather was alive, so I can say a few things. My dad would tell me what to say to him. I didn't understand because again, I was like 9, 10, 11, 12, but I wish I did.
There's still time.
Yeah, there is still time because I still want to learn. And I probably will eventually, but
And
it kind of brings to the idea that you automatically assume that just because you're just one race, like oh you're Asian, you automatically are either Chinese, Korean, or Japanese. And the same with Hispanics. You automatically think, oh, you're from Mexico, you're from Mexico, you're from Mexico. They don't assume that, oh, you're actually from Guatemala, or you're from Peru, or you're Salvadorian, or maybe you're from Brazil, or you're from Venezuela, or, the other South American countries that speak Hispanic, or
Spanish, not Hispanic, Spanish.
Spanish, yeah, or Puerto Rican, you know.
Well, it's like my favorite joke from Short Circuit, where they have the one, I guess, Arabic looking guy, and they ask him where he's from originally. He's like, New York.
Oh yeah, I seen that. Yeah.
Oh, we got some more people. So, hi, Desiree Morgan. Hi, Zayda. How Zayda Corin. Yeah, I know I butchered his last name, but so yeah. Kind of to sum everything up, um, for those people that are joining, we're talking about racism and discrimination, especially with the Upper Adams School District, within our schools, and within our local communities. Again, we do have Josue Salinas and Sasha, the Princess of Darkness. If you want to know anything horror related, you just talk with her. So,
Well, here's something I found interesting, and
okay.
this is something that you should be able to fill me in a little bit. When you've experienced a lot of the hate, it's been mostly in like a public setting, either in a school or somewhere like Walmart or something of that nature,
Yep.
right?
Hmm.
So like, and here's something, and I hate to say it, but like anytime I go to Walmart, I see them Duck Dynasty looking fucks. And I'm like, I am
Yep.
not going in there. And you know what I mean by the Duck Dynasty looking fucks. I
Yep.
got camo on 24/7. I got a beard down to my belly button. And anything that looks, I'm going to stare at it funny until it goes away. Anywhere they go, I avoid.
Well, for me, to kind of get back to the school, I graduated from Littlestown High School in 2004. I actually also went to Fairfield. So
Now,
when I
George, can you explain exactly why you transferred schools? Tell your side of the story, what they did to you, what you witnessed, and why did you have to go to Littlestown instead of graduating from Fairfield?
Well, I can tell you, but it's let's see here. So the reason why I was at Fairfield, I started there in kindergarten. I was basically the lone one out. I was Asian, um, and basically I was awkward because I came out. I'm trying to think. I think it was the 10th grade. That's when I finally came out. So I had the double standard going on. Not only was I a minority, but it's more like, oh, you're this as well. So I remember I was on the school bus one day at Fairfield, um, and I did get off what you call off the bus suspension. I think for like 2 or 3 weeks. I forget
The guy
how
who
long
drove.
it was, but I was on the bus, and here in the back, it was someone that was an upper class of mine. I think it was like 2 grades above me, but I heard it's like, oh, there's the chink. I'm thinking, excuse me? And I remember I got upset. I picked up a snowball and I chucked it at him, and it's like, wait, what are you doing? And and then I was chucking down, and then someone else is chucking snowballs, and someone put a battery in it, and I was like, that wasn't mine. So immediately, who did he pick out? Me, because you were chucking snowballs with batteries. So they gave me off the bus suspension for 2 weeks for that whole entire incident. And what happened to the person who called the racist slurs? Just a little slap on the wrist.
Now,
And
did it,
everything's fine.
now, don't buses have to have cameras?
They do have cameras. They caught the whole thing, but again, they again, it's more of the fact that, oh, you're the one tossing snowballs, so you're the one that's going to get in trouble. And they just like a little slap on the wrist to the other guy because he was in it too. And it's like, yeah, you just a little slap on the wrist.
They
Just
have
don't do it
cameras
again.
on buses now?
Yeah, they have the cameras on buses. When you get onto the bus, they have like a little box in the front with a little red light that lets you know that they're
Yeah,
filming.
when I went to school, they had those cameras. Yeah,
We didn't.
Oh wow.
I went in the
It was
'90s. So.
bus drivers' word against ours. I remember many a time getting dropped off the wrong stop, having to hike it 2 or 3 miles to get back home.
Huh.
No,
All because the old vet wanted to go off on some crazy ass tangent on something for somebody, and I just happened to be the person for the day.
Oh wow. Yeah. So that was just only the part of it. But once you get into the school itself, Fairfield was kind of a mixture. I remember there was only one African American student at my school, and I think they were a grade below me. I remember where the house is. The house is kind of near where I live, or I don't know if they live there anymore. Um, and then I was one of 3 total Asians in the school. One had a similar last name to mine, but spelled differently. They had graduated by the time I got into high school. Well, by the time I got into 10th grade, and the other one, he's already gone. He's not in our school, so it was just me. And it's more you walk in, and it's kind of like this monotony of the students just looking at you. The first thing they're going to say, "Oh, there's the ugly kid. Hi, ugly." You know, right there. That's even the word ugly that could be considered discrimination. It all depends, but they just don't say anything. And then of course you got the double standard. Oh, there's the ugly chink. And it's like, yeah, no one's gonna date you because you're so ugly. And it's more
I
of
had a conversation with one of the kids when I was in high school, and it's like something that always hit me twice as hard. Like just hearing him say this, because he was Mr. Straight A student, Mr. Football Star, Mr. All School Athlete, and he's like, I gotta try 3 times as hard than what someone like yourself would have to do all of this. I've got to be twice as fast just to stay exactly where I am.
wow.
He's like, I sure hope college is better. And I'd like to know where that kid, went with his life, and I hope college was a lot better for him. I honestly do.
I hope a college is a lot better.
Now, George, can you explain exactly why you had to transfer?
Yeah. So the reason why I transferred is, in short, there was a group of kids at my school. This happened on a constant basis. It's like the group of kids in my school. They somehow this is showing my age. MySpace was the dominant social media platform. Yes, I was one with Tom back in the day. Me and Tom are like buddy, but we all have MySpace profiles, and my MySpace profile got spread around school. This is right about the time where I also came out. So someone decided, let's play this little nasty prank on him and pretend that they're interested in him and they want to go on a date with so and so. So they sent me roaming around randomly to locations. Because at the time, I remember I was working at Ski Liberty at the time. So it's like, oh, let's meet at Ski Liberty. I'll come in and say hi. Well, no one showed up. Oh, I'll meet you at the basketball game. And then someone, actually, I remember this, someone posed as a kid. And they just ran around the school. And I finally caught up with this kid. And it's like, oh, no, I was actually paid to do this. I was like, whoa, okay. And all of this happened on and off school property, mind you. So when I finally figured out that this was all a big prank, but at that time, I was very depressed. I had mental health issues. Not going to even go into the mental health issues I had at that time because, you're in high school. It took
And it could have been a direct result from all of that.
Yeah, it took a toll on the body. And not just that, but I can tell you a direct change. I went from wearing lugs and Junko jeans, from dressing everything Hot Topic, listening to Godsmack and heavy metal. But again, I think that probably had this little coincide, but I still love that music today. But regardless, it had a big effect on me. And because it did, I basically confronted these kids. And when I confronted these kids, basically, I got called to the guidance office because they basically told one of them told the parents, and the parents got scared. And basically, the guidance counselor told me, "You have an option. You can either I can either send you and put you into what you call emotional support in another school district, or um, I can, or we can, or you can spend time in juvie." I was like, "For what?"
Spend time in juvie for what?
Exactly, for basically defending myself.
For confronting a kid. Did you hit the kid? Did
No, I didn't hit
did
the
you yell
kid.
at the kid? Did the kid have any bruises? Did the kid have any scars or anything? Did you physically abuse him?
No, and high
Then
rate.
why would they send you to juvie? That's
Well, the
just
only
ridiculous.
reason they wanted to send me, that they gave me that option, was I used the word that you should never be used, which is the or else.
Oh my.
Yeah, that word. And because I used the word or else, it's like,
Do they have proof? Do they have proof you used it? And was it recorded?
no, we have to keep in mind this was
Exactly. Then where's the proof? Where's the proof? If nobody recorded it, nobody saw what you actually did, then where's the proof?
well, I was kind of stupid. I wrote it on a piece of paper and stuck it in the locker, who was my
Oh.
next door neighbor's locker. So yeah, they did have proof on that.
Did you
That
sign your
was,
name?
I didn't, but
Then
they kind of knew who it came from. So
you could totally deny that, and they have no proof saying it was you.
well, regardless, that was the best thing that could have happened. I got transferred to Littlestown, and I had this wonderful friend base, and I still connect with them today. And it's kind of funny when you talk about racism. Those same kids who bullied you when you were in high school are now adults, and they come back saying they apologize for what they did, and they're all like, oh, hey, how have you been? They don't say really apologize, but they just want to catch up with you and see how you've been, because it's been so long. And then a lot of this, it stays with you. It stays with you, and it never leaves you. I knew a kid that did this, and he basically sent me a message on Facebook telling me that he was sorry and he wanted to apologize and let's be friends. I said, that's fine. We're adults. Well, I was out one day, I believe it was at Haas's, and that same kid was behind me with another person, and they were basically snickering and saying some quite horrible things behind my back, not daring to say it right to my face. And I'm thinking, okay, you just apologized. Now you're doing this. I'm sorry. No, that grudge still stands.
Yeah. The way to look at it is it's all a bunch of cowards now. And
Yeah.
then on top of that, they're probably all doing Cincy and selling, the little stretch pants to each other. Fuck them.
Probably. I don't know.
What I encountered in a bigger level also was that white kids were more likely to go to college, more likely to get guidance from the guidance counselor saying, hey, you want to go to college? Here's what you do. You do this. You apply here. We're gonna set up meetings. I've never seen some of these Hispanic kids who get the same opportunity, being like, hey, of course there were some like me. I got the direction of stuff. I applied to actual colleges, but I ended up going to Hack first because like save money, Hack save money. But I mean, you saw more of the white people being able to talk to the guidance counselor saying, what do I do next path to go to college? And these Hispanic people, who some of these people didn't know very good English because they came here when they were young and then they were learning English, but then they became legal through their parents here and in the future. They got the opportunity to go to college. They were never actually given that, saying, hey, if you want to go to college, come talk to the guidance counselor. We're going to help you apply, do all this stuff. They were more worried about the white kids succeeding more than the Hispanic people. You didn't really see Hispanic people. If they were struggling, they were like, oh, well, this kid's probably going to fail and stuff. If a white person was struggling, they'd be like, why are you struggling? This and this. What can we do to help you? Grades come up. The Hispanic people were just like, oh, you're just failing. We're going to hold you back. Because I've known a couple of Hispanic people who got held back because they weren't actually, didn't actually pass the grade. And instead of helping them pass, they just said, oh, well, you're going to fail. So we're just going to hold you back.
That's horrible.
All my counselors were a bunch of hippies from like the Doom generation, and they had seen all the political movements and everything happen, and they tried to adapt that in their teaching. So, but then again, we only had like one or two. We only had a smattering of kids at the time. You know what I mean?
Sasha, I know you're not a minority. I know you're not an immigrant, but could you talk a little bit about what happened to you with this? What's been happening with you with your transformation? You being transgender, you being different than
It's interesting, and this is what I thought was kind of interesting, because you know how we did that nerd squat back in Waynesboro a while back.
Yeah.
How many issues did you two have?
What?
Not many.
I had a few drive-bys, very negative slurs and stuff thrown my way.
Like I know this isn't. I know what you went through isn't racism, but this is still discriminating people of
Yep.
that's different than you. Like
I've
can you explain a little
lost-
bit of what's happening.
I've lost jobs, and sometimes just for being a whistleblower on things, for saying, hey, you know, why is this person getting this crap and nobody else is, being that leader and taking a stand. But yeah, it sucks.
Now, for all of you that don't know, Sasha came from male to female, and she is
We don't
transgender
use that
right now.
terminology anymore.
So-
I was assigned male at birth.
Yes, Sasha is a female now, but male at birth.
Always
And
female.
she's been-
Just
and
assigned
she's been-
male at
and
birth because
she's-
doctors make mistakes.
And she's also been, and she's been discriminated not because of her color, but she's been discriminated because she's different than people. Can you elaborate on that?
I was recently, well, no, years back, we used to go to this place in Hagerstown called Hard Times Cafe and Q. They no longer exist. But one of my favorite bands would play there, and I'd all the time go see my band for free. Went to go use the restroom. We're a family establishment. You can't use the bathroom here. And what was fucked up that pissed me off
Weren't you a
the
customer?
most was it was a foot tall African American gentleman with dreadlocks all the way down to here telling me that. And I'm like, dude, if the roles reversed, you'd be a little pissed off right now, would you not?
Did you buy anything at that establishment?
Yes.
So you were a customer. Are customers allowed to use bathrooms at places because they're
Yes.
customers?
Yep. They consider themselves a family venue, even though we had a loud, raunchy punk,
I mean, they
punk
can
show
say
going on.
they can say not public restrooms, but if you're a customer and you buy something, you're allowed to use your facilities.
Well, I fought it. I got a nice settlement out of it because that's just how I am. I will keep running and running until
Right.
something happens. That's why they're not in Hagerstown anymore.
Right.
Well, I shouldn't say I've experienced much like that, but in a way I have.
Now, George, you came out as bisexual.
Yes.
Could you explain what besides being of color, besides being Asian and being different and being a minority, can you explain what happened to you by being? See,
So-
I only know about being Hispanic, but I don't know about you guys being in the LGBT community. Could you explain, George, what happened to you by coming out?
So let's go back to Fairfield, for instance. So for Fairfield, when I came out as bi. I remember that very specifically. It was
Now, when did you exactly come out?
10th grade. I remember it was exactly 10th grade because I came out to the whole entire school. It was during, I forget what his name is. It was one of my favorite teachers. I loved him. It was in social studies class, and we were talking about protests around. And then my friend, who I'm gonna mention dearly because I'm still friends with her today. She's also a minority because she wore a headdress and the scarf, and she's originally from Egypt. But
I know who you're talking about. Yeah,
her name
she's
is
a very nice person.
Yes, I'm friends with her, and hi Sarah, if you're watching this, because I know you like that. But we got together and we did a project, and we were talking about, and it's basically doing this whole was it trying to think the whole Stonewall thing, and I had to sign up saying gay rights and all that, and immediately everyone's like, oh, really? And so the following day, I get little whispers. I'm trying to be PG here, but I get little whispers saying, so you like to beep in the butt? I was like, yeah, and your point is? And then it's like, well, what's it like? Oh, I found that the best determine is to tell them exactly what they do, how it's like, and you tell them in great descriptive detail because they get so disgusted. They're like, okay, I'm good. I'm good. I didn't need to hear that. Well, you asked for it. It was just like that. And then when I went to Littlestown, I remember the first day I was at Littlestown, I got told this story. And this story stuck with me from that first day. Was Be yourself. Just keep to yourself. Don't really say much. Because he said there was a student who went to Littlestown. He was openly gay. He came out. He was gay. And I think three or four guys, two guys, I don't remember how many it was exactly anymore, actually came to his house off school grounds, knocked on the door. He was there home alone, dragged him out and beat him up, and then drove away
On his property.
on his property just because of who he was. And the police at the time, from what I've heard, from what the story is, they absolutely did nothing because this was talking like I don't know how that 2000s, way before I went there. I'm thinking seriously, and that always stuck with me for that whole year because I remember I took my date at the time with me to my school homecoming, and the whole entire time they're like, "Oh, there needs to be a girl in there," and they tried to insert a girl in between us, and then people are trying to take photos and trying to make fun, but it backfired because I still had that photo. It really backfired, and it's like, "Oh, I took this photo of you guys just to try to be nasty and mean." So here you go. I looked at it, I was like, "Oh, that's a cute photo." It backfired on them, and that's basically the only thing I experienced. But you know, that goes back to the question: even though you didn't experience or it didn't happen to you, didn't mean it wasn't happening. Because I've known people because after I graduated, I've known people that basically stayed in the closet or the whole entire school year from they were there because they were afraid of what would happen to them, but they just kept quiet.
Right.
I mean, that's basically it. And then now, once I'm out, it's more like I get this double standard. It's like you're Asian, so we're gonna pick you because you're race. But then we're gonna also pick on you because you're not what they consider normal, and you're not part of the normal community. I had this
Normal is just a setting on the washer and dryer.
correct. Yeah, it's like you talk with people. It's like man falls in love with woman and man get married. That's how it should be. I'm like that
It's
notion.
Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve.
That notion went out in the
A
60s,
long time ago.
Like
long
like
time ago.
like going back to what George said about men and women. Me and George are friends. The most we have people who we hang out with, and I'm sure you do too, Sasha. Who you hang out with that are nice people. They're not really racist. They're not really like they're good people, but they still think men and women should be together. They're set in their ways. People don't like to change. Like they don't like that.
I usually don't associate with people like that for very much longer.
But with what he said, I completely understand with you. But with what he said, kind of bring this back to the full circle with what's been happening at Big Louisville, what's still happening at Big Louisville. Um, these people, even though what they said, they basically are, if what's happening and they get in trouble, they basically just ruined their whole entire life. Their life is just ruined just because of what they did when they were in high school. And now this is 2021. This is a new dawn of a new era. And everything gets on social media. It gets on
It's
Facebook.
like it's like I don't know exactly who these people were because I don't go to school there anymore. But these kids put a sign up put a sign up in their basement with the Shippensburg
University.
University kid. Um, they put a sign that said all Black lives, and then one of those Black Lives Matter signs, but they said Black lives, and at the bottom they were really small words that said "Don't matter," and then these kids were you. This thing got posted, and people saw what they did, and then these kids were trying to hide it, saying it was a joke, it was stuff, and then the parents got involved, saying, "You better take this stuff down for my daughter. This is going to ruin my daughter's life. My daughter won't be able to go to college. It won't be able to get a job because of you posting this on social media." I'm like, you're basically the parent basically saying to their kid, what you did wasn't wrong. what they did by posting it was wrong. I'm like, really, people? What, like they're making this seem like because somebody called it out saying they're wrong instead of exactly what they said wasn't wrong.
So you two are both in the local acting and film community, correct?
Yes.
So I just tagged you both in the comment section of something I was recently involved in, was scrolling through a fellow actor's page.
Oh yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
And dude wants to basically spout racism on my friend's page. Find out he's a local actor. So
Well,
basically tag all of my friends that are into film, that are into directing, acting, etc. Hey, here's this guy. If y'all know him, y'all need to fix this before I do.
It's like
Didn't know who or productions people were involved with or film that they may have been in. One involves a sweatshirt, and we'll just leave it at that. But apparently, one of my close friends got upset because I had tagged them in the post. And like, oh, they're going to associate that with films I've made. Da, 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 da. It's like, okay, well, fix that and say that you don't have, you don't condone what he's saying, and you're not going to work with him in the future.
I'd like to know who they're associated with, because we're associated with EPG Films, and
They're fine.
They specifically said, they specifically had us sign, me and George, a statement saying we won't discriminate anybody, we won't do anything racist.
They're fine, but
Yeah.
but here's what irked me about this particular group, because I bring it to everybody's attention. I know I'm not telling anybody, hey, this person is in your film. I'm just saying, hey, this is a person that works in the industry. Watch out, he's local. These people take offense because they were tagged, just in general, as people, not as the production company or the film.
Right.
And instead of being mad about it, they went the whole neutral route, got rid of him, and blocked me for even saying anything.
What is that going to solve? Nothing.
I'm like, honey, I've got 30 accounts. Block me all you want. If I see you're working with him, trust me, stuff is going to come to light.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, like this was a guy who's spouting reverse racism on MLK Day of all days to a close personal friend of mine's page. And it's like, no, that does not fly well with me.
Well, speaking of that, I want to try to end this video because it's going a little bit over, but I do want to mention Dr. Rachel Levine, because you being within the trans community, you kind of understand what happens and what goes on. Now, I shouldn't say even on my page, people that have known for years, it's automatically we have some friends in common. I'm not going to say names, but they post things like a picture of Dr. Rachel Levine, and here's a picture of Joe Biden, no shirt, and stuff like that. And it's like, where's Monica Lewinsky? And then here's Rachel saying, well, there's no Monica, but I guess I'll do.
Well, you can always tag me and stuff, and I'll take care of it.
Stuff like that. But I'm just saying that our Secretary of Health, who's now going to be working down in Washington, she's been getting a lot of flack, especially because she's an open trans woman, and that she is the first, and she's holding a position of power.
Not the first.
Not the first, though. No.
Not the first.
No.
Won't be the last. First for such a high office, yes, but not the first, because you're forgetting Danica Rome and a bunch of other people that are out there.
And you're also forgetting Harvey Milk.
Yes, but when it comes to these type of situations, and this is going to sound weird, hate somebody for their personality and their politics.
Yeah.
Not who and what they are.
Correct.
It's easy to attack someone who's got a shitty personality. It's easier to attack someone with shitty politics.
Yeah.
But the moment you attack them for who and what they are, you're just a shitty person yourself.
I completely agree. What about you, Josue? Any thoughts to this, and any thoughts?
I just feel like you could be trans, you could be Hispanic, you could be white, you could be whatever. If you can do your job right, what does it matter what you are? If you're good at your job, good at what you do, what does it matter? Like
and
I know
even if you don't do your job right, hate you for that, but not for what and who
right.
you are.
Yeah. but I'm saying I know, and this is gonna. I mean, I haven't done this. I haven't had this happen to me, but I'm sure it happens a lot to people. If a Hispanic and a white person go for the same job, they both speak Spanish, they both have the same degree, they both have the same credentials. Who are they going to more likely to give the job to? The white person because he's white, and that's just not fair.
You
They
see,
need
for
to
me,
give each other. They need to give each other the same opportunity to fight for the job.
I agree. It's called it is that goes on to a whole different topic. We talk about, the different time about inequality. But for me, it's kind of the opposite. They all make it look like, oh, you're Asian. You know how to speak Chinese. I was like, sure, come help translate. I'm
Which
like,
dialect?
exactly. And if, it kind of it puts me in the spot. And what's this? All Asians are doctors. They're all lawyers. They're all they're getting high praise. So it's like,
I
uh,
think one
I,
of the most progressive things I've seen, and I think it's hilarious, but still one
yeah,
of my favorite episodes of King of the Hill,
correct.
where they first introduced Khan
Yes,
to Cotton, and it's so funny because he's all like, "Oh, he killed lots of people, you in World War II, and da 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 da," and they're like, "Oh, he's Japanese," and like Cotton's like, "No, he's not. He's Laotian, ain't you Laotian, Mister Khan?"
Yeah. I say I didn't know about the Laotian community till I learned about the King of the Hill. And I was like, oh, Laotian, let's go type this up. And I typed it in. It's like, oh, it's a small nation located here. Oh, it's landlocked. It's surrounded by other countries. And I'm like, well, oh, I learned something new.
I just think it's funny because here's this character who's the biggest bigot a-hole in the show, but he can get this person's nationality correct. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So kind of the end things here because I now realize I'm going to have to cut a lot out just to put this, and that's perfectly fine. So, folks out there that are watching, you won't get any of the Pennsylvania fun facts that I had, but maybe I'll post it as a separate thing. So, um, I'll post Pennsylvania fun facts separately. But um, so with what's happening in our community, especially up there in Biglaville, and especially within their schools, if you see something, say something. Don't be quiet.
And
If
worst case, nuke the place from orbit. The only way to be sure.
oh, that's horrible. But if something is happening and you're not okay with it, especially in the school,
Speak
tell
out.
speak out. Tell someone. Regardless if it's racism because of your skin color, if it's discrimination because of LGBTQ, maybe it's because of your race. Speak out. Tell someone. Tell someone that you trust. And if you speak about early enough, maybe something can be done about it.
and and don't be and if you're a student of any school and the teacher's saying stuff and being discriminatory, or any person, any staff or any faculty, don't be afraid to say, hey, this this teacher did this, this staff did this. Be open and speak out who exactly it was. That way something can be addressed, because if you just say teacher's been saying this to me, they won't know exactly who's been doing it. And by saying this way, they can all address all teachers saying, well, this is not acceptable. They, like speak out and say exactly who's the one doing it, so they can
Exactly.
hold them accountable.
Because if they did that, say, a long time ago, I wouldn't be to where it is currently. I mean, it needs to be done. They need to be held accountable, especially the people that have been doing this.
That's what bigots hate the most is accountability.
I know, and I'm getting emotional just talking about it. But when you read those stories about what they went through, hearing from what happened with you, Josue, and hearing about what you've been through, telling about my stories. This is actually the first time that I've actually spoke about what I went through at Fairfield. I kept it hidden. I've only told like certain aspects of that story to certain people, but
I mean, I've known your story for a while. We've been best friends for a long time.
correct. But
Yeah.
you and Will have been better best friends. Well, but we're friends. But you're closer to Will, though.
We're better than friends. We're family, so just deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all like
We're a family.
Yeah.
you see, we're all one big happy dysfunctional family, like Schitt's Creek.
Super minority powers activate.
Yeah. What was it? What was that show? It was Harvey Birdman, attorney at law. It's like we're the multicultural pals.
Juan Gigante,
the French tickler, Jesse Jackson.
Jesse Jackson.
Yep, and it's like I was like, okay, yeah. So, but yeah, so I mean, it's been fun talking to you guys.
Yeah, like people don't be scared of being who you are. Don't be scared of uh, of of being your true self. If you feel that you're in a setting that people don't want you to be who you are, fuck them. Screw them. Be who you are. Be proud of where you came from. Don't be ashamed of it. Like me, I'm proud of being Hispanic, being from Mexico. I speak Spanish. I don't care who's around me, who looks at me. So whoever you are, just be yourself. Um, be proud of where you come from. If you want to speak if you want to speak any Asian language, whether it be Chinese, whether it be Mandarin, Japanese, whatever, Korean, whatever, go for it. If you want to speak Arabic, go for it. Nobody should nobody saying anything should stop you from speaking or being who you are. So whatever people say, just be your true self.
And another big takeaway is I always tell people, you're not alone. No matter what you're going through, what challenges you face, you're going to be okay. You can get through this, but no, you're not going to be alone.
Right.
You may not have found your community yet, but it's out there.
And even if you're in a community where you're not accepted, say at home by your parents, or you're not accepted by your peers around you, you're going to find someone down there that's going to accept you for who you are, and just be okay with that. Be happy, be yourself, be true to yourself.
Like
And speak up.
even if we can't do anything to help you, Sasha, George, or me will just be open to listening to what's going on. But you can always come to us and you can just talk to us and tell us what's going on. Even if we can't do anything about it, we can always be there to listen. It's always good to talk to someone about what's going on. Don't just keep it in. That's when people get depressed. People start committing suicide. People start, hurting themselves or wanting to retaliate to other people. You always have to find someone you can talk to, even if they can't do anything about it. Just by getting it out there and saying it helps people out.
Yeah.
And one of the things I wrote a while back, as I've told people, at the end of the day, you are going to be okay. You're not a freak. You're not worthless. And you certainly are not hopeless. You are much stronger than you could ever think you are. Nothing you could ever feel, think, could ever stop you from being happy. But first and foremost, you have to know that you are okay and you are not alone.
Correct. And I completely agree with that. So, with that being said, we spoke a lot and we talked about racism and discrimination, folks. This will not be a one-time topic. We're going to come back to this because I'm going to keep watching what's happening up at the Upper Adams School District because I follow their pages and I read the news, and I'm going to keep watch because I think that at this point, they're going big. Nothing's going to stop them. And I can tell you this: it's not just going to be with the Upper Adams School District. It's going to go down because right now I hear that Gettysburg High School.
I believe right now they're planning on having a meeting within the superintendent and the upper administration, because the superintendent got word of this and then got note from a lot of people. So they're having a meeting to see what's going to be what's happening about that. So I'm looking. It'll be interesting to see if anything does change, or if anybody, or if there's any other rules, any rules that.
Anybody got any protests or any other activism going on down there?
Nope, not right now. It's just mainly about people just want not necessarily students, because if the students are doing it, the teachers are letting them do it. So they need to hold staff and administration accountable of people's actions and stuff. So right now it's going to the superintendent and higher administration.
Well, you all know, if you need Mama Sasha, I have no problem going on a picket line.
Right. They're going to have a meeting about it. And Monday, hopefully the snow's not too bad and people go to school. They're supposed to wear red to show they're not going to stand for discrimination.
That's
solidarity.
That's one last thing I want to mention, because I was reading through all the things. They mentioned through their group that to wear red for solidarity, and they immediately got posts back saying my child and da 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 will not be wearing red, and
Well, then
or
we know what the
and
problem
then
is.
what was one they said that someone sent a picture of George Floyd's dead body.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean that's how bad it is up there. That's really how bad it is.
Like I said, that sign that said Black Lives, and then they wrote "Do Not Matter," and they had a sign that says Biden, fuck Biden or whatever. And then the parents got offended that someone posted it about their child, and that's going to ruin the child's life for posting that on Facebook. I'm like, really? So you're letting your child say and do these things? And you're more worried about it ruining your child because they called him out.
Yeah, I'm sorry that this has to happen like this, but they need to be held accountable, and that's why I'm
Well,
gonna.
I got dip, guys. So peace and chicken grease, and I will catch you all later.
I love you all. Please, everybody, let's just be respectful for everybody. Let's just all try to get along. So.
And thank you again, Sasha, the Princess of Darkness, and Josue Salinas for appearing on the show where we talked about racism and discrimination. Because the saying is, even though you didn't experience it or see anything, doesn't mean it didn't happen. Keep that in mind. This will not be the first time we talk about it. We'll be talking about this topic again, only because this is such a broadened topic, and I feel for what's happening up there at Upper Adams School District. I'm a supporter, and just hearing some of the stories that Josue said about what he experienced just kind of makes me cringe. And telling my story of what I went through, that it took a lot. It took a lot for it to come out. It's just my thought that it's not going to stop at Biglerville. It's going to go with Gettysburg. It's going to go with Littlestown, and it's probably going to go with Fairfield. Before you know it, all of Adams County schools are going to be having this little discussion about racism and discrimination. But the first time ever, we're going on the third commercial break because this is a long episode. I do apologize. But we'll be back with the end of the show and Pennsylvania fun facts. Stick around, folks. So we're going to jump into some fun stuff after all of that lovely serious talk. And I had to scour the web since this episode is all about my dear state of Pennsylvania. I pulled up some what we call Pennsylvania fun facts. That's right. That lovely keystone. So I have here some 15 fun facts about Pennsylvania. These are some of these I actually didn't know about, so maybe they'll surprise you too. So let's hop right into it, shall we? Here, how about this one? Number 1. Pennsylvania is the first state of the 50 United States to list their website URL on a license plate. I did not know that. And that's pretty cool. How about this one? The first baseball stadium was built in Pittsburgh in 1909. Let's go Pirates! Woo! Philadelphia became home to the first computer in 1946. Now, you remember back in the days, the computers were big boxes. They took up a whole entire room? Yeah, most likely that. Hershey is considered the chocolate capital of the United States. Yes, they make really good candy. I love Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. I really do. They're so addicting. How about this one? Betsy Ross made the first American flag in Philadelphia. So let's talk about Betsy Ross, because this is my favorite subject. So Betsy Ross is supposedly the person who made the very first American flag. The stars and the stripes and all that. However, as story goes, it all has to start somewhere. Now, this story supposedly started and was spread around by her nephew when he was drunk 3 ships to the wind in a local bar, saying, "My Aunt Betsy made the first American flag." So whether there is truth to this, we'll never know. But however, for another big for Pennsylvania, she's only one of 2 females in the United States to have a perpetual flag, and they're both from Pennsylvania. One being, of course, Betsy Ross, and the second one being for Miss Jenny Wade of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Only civilians shot during the Battle of Gettysburg out of a total amount of 2,400 civilians on July the 3rd, 1863. She was baking bread for Union soldiers. So, yes, she got only 2 females with perpetual flags. All right, let's see here. Fairmount Park in Philadelphia is the largest city park in the United States with over 8,000 acres. I can't even imagine that. Me no good with math up here. I can't imagine that, but that's cool. How about this one? The State College Area High School was the first school in the country to teach driver's education in 1958. So I guess before 1958, you were taught by your parents. It's more like don't push on the brake pedal too much. You're gonna ruin the clutch. Seatbelts. Yeah. Scary situations. I'm trying to remember. I think it took me 3 tries to get before I got my license. I didn't get it until I was 18. But it took me 3 tries because that damn parallel parking. I don't like parallel parking. Let's not get into that. How about this one? Located in the Great Coast region of Pennsylvania, the city of Northeast has 4 thriving wineries and is home to the largest Welch's grape processing plant in the country. You know, Welch's grape juice? Oh my, that's good stuff. And other Welsh products. But that's pretty cool. Or how about this one? Kennett Square, Pennsylvania is considered the mushroom capital of the world and harvests 1 million pounds of mushrooms each year. That's a lot of fungi. That must be a lot of fungi there. Number 10, here's one. The nation's first hospital was the Philadelphia Hospital, founded in 1751. The facility also includes the nation's first medical amphitheater and the first medical library. That's cool. But if you want something cool and you're not from and you travel to, say, Boston area, go check out the Ether Dome. Ether Dome is just amazing. It's just absolutely amazing. And if you can get yourself into the Harvard Medical School library, you can actually get to see, they have a guy that had a iron tapping rod that went straight through. Yeah, it's cool. It's very cool. They have a skull and the tapping rod. That's awesome. That's awesome. How about this one? Geneva College in Pennsylvania is considered to be the birthplace of college basketball, which was invented by Dr. James Naismith. Oh, that was a mouthful to say. The first U.S. zoo was built in Philadelphia in 1876. Now, the zoo was founded by Benjamin Franklin years earlier. Way to go, Ben. Way to go, Big Ben. Oh, no. That's Pittsburgh. That's Roethlisberger. But Benjamin Franklin, Farmer's Almanac. Way to go. Now, last page, folks. Last page. 13. In 1913, I couldn't have done it better myself. The first automobile service station opens in Pittsburgh. And of course, now you have them all over the turnpike, and you have service stations in every town and every city. So, but that's pretty cool. In 1775, in the city of Philadelphia, Johanna Behrendt built the first piano in America. Let me get these ivory keys out and let me start playing a masterpiece. That's pretty cool. I guess they came from Europe. If you got them made before that. Cool. Pretty cool. And we're down to our last fun fact of Pennsylvania, folks. Our last fun fact. We're going to harvard back to Christmas. Indiana County, Pennsylvania, is the Christmas tree capital of the world. I guess we spruce this one up a bit. Boy, it's been pining me to say that. I think I better stop before I get way too bad. That was horrible English. And yes, I still have my Christmas tree set up back there, folks. But I'm sorry you can't see it, but my Christmas tree is still set up. Just books. I should take it down. But this has been Pennsylvania Fun Facts. I want to give a big thank you to Sasha, the Princess of Darkness, and of course to host Sway for being on the show, and also to the Artist of the Week. And for everyone that's been here to support this show, thank you, thank you, thank you. But for now, this is Rocky Red Panda signing out. And of course, I will catch you next week. Now, who do we have next week? Because I had to finagle things around to get this special with the racism on. So, next week, we have special guest and Artist of the Week, Lakota. Yes, we have Lakota coming up next week. So, that's going to be fun. But for now, I'll catch you next week. Have a good week, guys. Oh, you're still here. Well, while you're here, make sure you like and subscribe. That's right, like and subscribe to my channel for more awesome videos. And while you're at it, check last week's episode. Last week's episode was so much fun. I absolutely enjoyed it. And also check out some of the other videos.